Look, I'm not just here to circle jerk deathcore fans who already know this stuff. I'm trying to convert the non-believers out there.
The power of Christ compels you!
So these are the top 10 deathcore albums that didn't suck this year and might just change your mind about the genre. And we're kicking things off with Fit for an Autopsy and Oh What the Future Holds.
Far from heaven.
Now, I've personally never been a big fan of Fit for an Autopsy over the years, but they absolutely knocked it out of the park here, in many ways transcending the constraints of the genre into something more progressive. You've got serious bangers like Far From Heaven, Pandora, and In Shadows, but also surprises like the Gojira meets Deftones energy of Two Towers. All of this backed by some of the best performances of their career in terms of technicality, but never at the cost of catchy hooks. Extremely well paced from start to finish, drawing connections along the way to everything from Rivers of Nile to Meshuggah. Then we have Greylotus with Dawnfall. So while all year long fanboys have been propping up Lorna Shore for their supposed mastery of blackened atmosphere, everything Pain Remain does, I think this album does 10 times better.
No way! Yes way!
The songwriting is far more dynamic, the melodies are more memorable, and goddammit, the songs actually have individual identities. Honestly, blackened deathcore is a genre that rarely makes me think of actual black metal, but this may be the closest I've heard a band to doing that title justice on certain songs. I can feel the icy cold in both the fantastic synth work and guitars, best described at times as Vindir and Dissection meets Fallujah, but also occasionally dipping into the tech death brutality of Beneath the Massacre, as well as more melodic territory. But if you really want the album that knocks the Pain Remains formula out of the park, check out Bonecarver with Carnage Funeral. Bonecarver engage in a very similar approach to symphonic deathcore, with Carnage Funeral, the title track, even kicking things off on a similarly dramatic note. But once more, thanks to great songwriting, each track ends up standing apart, making for a much more engaging album from start to finish. The symphonics are equally grand, but also know when to take a back seat. The riffs are better differentiated from song to song, breakdowns are used more sparingly to greater effect, and all the while I think that Fernando's vocal performance is every bit as impressive as Will's. Not to mention they cover just as much ground in only 39 minutes. Same toolbox, better construction. And to be honest, I think this bodies Shadow of Intense Elegy as well.
You need to leave!
Then we have Dr. Acula with Dr. Acula. Dr. Acula is a fun combo of deathcore and mathcore formed all the way back in 2005 that appropriately still bears the OG sound of other bands of that era like the Red Chord. It's a chaotic fusion of mathcore, hardcore, and death metal, and one that is rarely as predictable as most modern releases. This sixth album is the original lineup's triumphant return after many years apart, and it's a much-needed shakeup in a time where too many deathcore bands are starting to sound the same in both production and approach. Think if Every Time I Die made sweet, kinky love to Job for a Cowboy.
It's too late now to delete it. Now we just have to live with it.
Heavy, highly technical, and incredibly fun. Next up is Cabal with Magno Interitus. Now, I've been following this Danish blackened deathcore band for a while now, and true to their Scandinavian roots, Cabal have a much more bleak, blackened atmosphere to their sound that makes them one of the heaviest and most underrated bands in the genre. Songs are tighter than most, clocking in at around a lean and mean 3 minutes each, while still brimming with infectious grooves. Likewise, the additional backing elements are more sparing and memorable song for song, each offering a slightly different flavor. I particularly enjoy the electronic additions, especially the straight-up industrial sound of Blood auf Mit. Dark, heavy, and perfect for the pit. Then we have Within Destruction with Lotus. Far from the pure brutality of albums like Void and Deathwish, this new material continues to lean even further into metalcore, nu metal, and trap metal elements for what the band now unapologetically describe as animetal, with the end result not too far off from what Born of Osiris are doing these days. And if you ask me, I'm all for it. As much as I love to headbang to the likes of Torture Ritual and Plague of Immortality, those albums aren't going anywhere, and it's fun to hear what each new evolution brings. From the Korn-sounding guitar leads on Nightmare, to the technical, glitchy chaos of Dehumanized, to the blissful melodies of instrumental closer Ultima, it's just a damn good time. Then one that was definitely highly requested, we have Enterprise Earth with The Chosen. This band has been around since the mid-2010s and features former Infant Annihilator vocalist Dan Watson. Their sound is characterized by a mixture of technical and melodic death metal akin to the Black Dahlia Murder, with maybe a little bit more groove focus, especially on pulverizing tracks like Reanimate Disintegrate, which is easily my favorite track on the entire album. Now, I will say that at over an hour, it is definitely longer than it needs to be, and there are some clean singing parts that are a little rough, but even so, I can see why so many people were hyping it up when it came out and continue to request it for this list. Next up is Paleface with Fear and Dagger. Sometimes I'm in the mood for music that's high art, other times I just want my fucking face beaten in. One guess as to which category this falls under. Clearly influenced by the pummeling hardcore bands of the 90s, and with more than just a hint of early Slipknot edginess, Paleface are about as cheerful as a crowbar to the teeth. The chugging riffs, crunchy distortion, and no bullshit snarls are absolutely annihilating, and it's also one of the few times this year that the occasional hip-hop influenced scream cadences actually hit for me instead of coming off as cringe, though it definitely has its moments. Maybe a bit overlong, but it's pure violence, nothing more, nothing less. Then we have Spite with Dedication to Flesh. A little more beatdown goodness for you with some similar notes to Paleface, but with a bit more groove and melody to the riffs. Still, no less mosh pit worthy in its ferociousness, also a few more tricks on the production side too, which makes bulldozers like Made to Please really pop. These little touches really add to the memorable moments and overall imposing atmosphere, as do the various pace changes and shifts in the death growls, with everything from ear-piercing shrieks to deep, gurgly bellows that take me back to the Mitch era of Suicide Silence. Shout out also to the latest EP from Last 10 Seconds of Life, but 2 years in a row now, my favorite deathcore album of 2022 overall has to go to Darko with Oni. This delightful union of Chelsea Grin's Tom Barber and Amir's Josh Miller continues to be much more than the sum of its parts. Despite cranking out material like some crazy assembly line, somehow everything they release ends up being both the most infectious and most original stuff out there. It's super heavy and groovy for headbanging, but also brimming with unique sonic textures and some surprisingly chill moments as well. Not to mention, for my money, Tom Barber continues to have some of the best vocals in the game. Y'all check out this playlist for plenty more deathcore related videos, and this playlist for more of my favorite metal albums of 2022 in general. Also let me know your favorite deathcore albums down in the comments, but that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.